Hello people, I'm Jaby Achara and this is Achara Kirk.
Hello.
So normally I'm very exuberant and loud and gregarious, but just yesterday I believe, I had surgery on my throat. I had my tonsils removed. I wasn't actually planning to do a video, but we just watched Arrival today. I felt compelled to talk about it because I think that it's such a wonderful movie that I wanted to give it my stamp of approval. A lot of you guys who are subscribed to my channel don't actually know what Arrival is, because I did a Twitter poll and I asked, who wants a review on the Arrival? The first answer was yes, the second answer was no, the third answer was what's Arrival, and the fourth answer was okay, fine, but keep it short. I can't promise that this is going to be short. I can promise to try to not do any spoilers in the beginning, and we'll give you a heads up when there are spoilers. So, just as a quick rundown, I almost don't even want to give a rundown because I like this movie so much. This is my favorite movie of 2016.
Wow.
So far. We've had a whole year almost of film, and I can't think of another movie that I like more, honestly. What else has come out this year that is this good?
Yeah, it's definitely different. And I feel like it really touches you.
The only thing that I had negative to say about it, honestly, was the visual effects is not up to 2016 standards, but it felt like an indie movie with sci-fi elements. And the sci-fi elements in there felt very Stanley Kubrick-ish. There's stuff that you kind of don't see a lot. It's a slow burn.
Yeah.
It's not a fast-paced movie, but it doesn't feel like it needed to be fast. I enjoyed it very much. I wouldn't have edited anything out. It's close to being a perfect movie. The only thing, like I said, was the visual effects. Was the only thing that kind of was like, oh, well, that could have been spruced up a little more. But the story was so compelling.
The director really allowed the moments to breathe. As a viewer, like, you could really feel the characters' emotions.
I don't want us to actually say a whole lot about the story unless you guys have seen it already. So we'll get into the spoilers in a second. My recommendation is to stop watching this video and find the closest time that you can watch it, because it is such a good movie.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's my favorite movie of 2016 so far. I'm wearing my Jurassic Park mock t-shirt, Yoshi's Island, because Jurassic Park is one of my favorite movies. It's a big deal for me to say something is one of my favorite movies. Like, top of the list is Whiplash. And then it's there's like Matrix, Mad Max is one. It's like my favorite action movie. This is like a sci-fi drama. More
of a drama with sci-fi elements.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's a fair way to put it. The acting was good. Amy Adams did a good job.
Yeah.
What was his name? Jeremy Renner.
Yeah.
He was very understated, and he did a really good job. Forrest Whitaker did pretty good, although I couldn't understand what he was saying sometimes. I think this is a good time to get into the spoilers, because like I've already given it my stamp of approval.
Yeah.
Like, for me, this is seriously one of the best movies I've ever seen. And now, albeit we just watched it and I'm hopped up on drugs. So it's very possible that I'll watch this, a week or two from now and I'll feel a little differently. But as it stands right now, I feel like I'm pretty coherent, and the movie asks a lot of questions and answers them, and it's very, it's like, it's cerebral, it's philosophical, it's got a great story, it's got great acting, the directing's really good, just all around, just a really well put together film.
And lots of heart.
Lots of, yeah, exactly. Most importantly, it's got a lot of heart. It's about the human spirit.
Exactly.
And perseverance. And it's also, if you guys love Interstellar and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, you'll definitely enjoy this. Anyways, let's get into spoilers.
Yeah, because it's really hard to talk about this film, I feel, without going into the spoilers.
Yeah.
Going into the film, I didn't know a lot about it. I just...
Because you didn't see the commercials.
I didn't see any of the trailers. I didn't know. So I thought going into it that we were going into a movie about aliens. But really, it's a story about humanity and the human spirit, and aliens are kind of in the background, if that makes sense. It's not about them, it's more about us and our relationships with each other on a personal level and also on a global level.
It's tapping into so many different things, because you're dealing with worldwide hysteria, you're dealing with religious fundamentalists, military fundamentalists, terrorism, just human behavior in general. I love the beginning when Amy Adams goes to the university. She sees a bunch of people, they're congregating around the television. They're all watching the news. She doesn't know what it is, but she just kind of moves on about her day, because that's what we do. It's so real. It's like, that's typically what you do, is you just go, well, there's a lot of shit going on in the world. I'm gonna keep doing I got shit to do. And she goes to teach her class, There's only a handful of people in there. And just the way that was handled, where the student's like, can you turn on the news? And she watches it, and everything is here.
Yeah.
They don't actually show you what's going on. Now, I had a concern at that moment in the initial part of the film, because I was like, is this going to be like M. Night Shyamalan's Signs? It wasn't contrived like that. It was delicately showing you what it needed to show you to kind of keep pulling you in, and it really pays off, I think.
There's a lot of mystery just because of the way things are set up, and of course one of the main themes in this is time, which seems to be something that keeps cropping up in a lot of films that we've been watching. The whole structure of the story itself wasn't completely linear, which lends itself to what the story is about, how time isn't a straight line necessarily.
It's funny you should say that. I think that just as a generation, we're kind of getting a better, more appreciative understanding of just the brevity of life and time in general. It's like the point of life, like I was talking about in my podcast for those of you who got to listen to it, is the point of life is to experience. And just like in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, after Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet had their memories erased, they realized that they still wanted to experience each other, even though they knew they were most likely going to break up again.
Yeah.
Because it was just going to be, it was worth it.
It's worth it, yeah, because at the very end she gains the wisdom and understanding of the heptapods, the aliens, and is able to see time the way that they see it, which is more just past, present, future is all there. So she has the advantage or disadvantage of being able to see the future and the past, and even though she knows all of that and she knows the pain that she's going to go through for making certain choices, she does it anyway because
it's worth it.
It's worth it, like for whatever the 15 years that she gets to be with her daughter. It's worth it, and it makes me really teary, and we were talking about it afterwards, and like I nearly cried again. I was a mess in the movie. I was just like, bah.
I saw you. Sometimes, even though you know something has the absolute definite chance of falling apart and dying, sometimes it's worth it to engage in that thing anyway. It's kind of like if you go on a vacation somewhere, it's like, well, what's the point? You're just going to come back home anyway, right? So why even go there? And the point is, even though you definitely know you're not going to stay there, you want to experience it, you know, because there's something beautiful about those experiences that you cannot necessarily be bought, that a journal or a book or pictures cannot give to you. You have to be there and experience it. It also teaches you the appreciation of sadness and suffering. It's like all these things kind of help you appreciate the other thing. If that makes any sense and it doesn't sound too esoteric, it's like having sadness in your life helps you to appreciate the beautiful moments.
Exactly.
And vice versa.
The fact is that everything in life is finite.
Right.
So
for now.
Okay. Well, that's a different conversation. But, you know, everything has a beginning, middle, and end, and that's kind of what she talked about in the beginning in her monologue, didn't she? Like that she thought that the beginning of her daughter's life was the beginning, but actually the beginning had already begun way before that, and it's just everything is connected, and eventually it ends.
Yeah, that what you just said went over my head, and I watched the movie with you. That's when I go back to something like Interstellar, where a lot of people were confused by the ending. I just realized you haven't watched Interstellar, so I can't say too much. But it's a similar idea where everything is just circular in a very beautiful, harmonious way.
I just realized that another main theme in the film is communication. The whole time, Amy Adams' character, she plays a linguist. So the whole time she's trying to figure out how to communicate with these aliens, when really there's so much communication breakdown between us. They had all the different countries trying to work together and communicate, but not really, because when push came to shove and it was time to share information, suddenly everyone got all like hesitant and didn't want to share and didn't want to help each other. And then in the end you find out that this so-called weapon that the aliens are giving her isn't a weapon, but it's a gift. And how messed up are we as a species that we immediately go to the negative. It's a weapon, we have to protect ourselves, we don't want to work together, we don't want to talk to each other and share things and figure out what's going on, and
that's inherent to our
all of that.
That's inherent to our 1/3 ape man, our 1/3 primitive brain. I think it's like we're tribal creatures that survive, that fear each other. That fear stems from the need to survive.
Yeah.
Because you have to. It's better to fear. This is like we're talking something like a million years old.
Yeah, it's primal.
It's primal. Where it's safer to fear something and assume it's going to hurt you than to assume it's friendly and get killed, right? But this is a very primitive instinct that we can more safely abandon today than we could have a million years ago when we still didn't know how to make fire. And so that's a good point to bring up. That's part of the point of the film, is that we still live like we're tribal creatures and we don't need to anymore. And it took one person to go, here's everything. And then everyone else was like, oh yeah, okay, here's everything too. I think Elon Musk, he put, I forget what it was, but he put out like the blueprints or the technology for Tesla. It's open source basically at this point. There was a video I saw a while back, and I think it was a reference to Burning Man. There was like music playing and whatnot. And basically the narrator's talking about how it just takes one person to make a change. And no one was willing to dance, right? But this one dude put himself out there, and he goes out into the middle of this field and just starts dancing like crazy and having a good time. And then someone else was like, you know what? Oh, if you can do it, I can do it. And then very quickly you saw a crowd form around this one person who took a stand against boringness. Yeah. Who took a stand against the monotony of not doing anything and just passed by the inhibition of fear and went for it, and then everyone else followed suit. That was a lot of words to say a very simple idea. I apologize. Bringing
it back to the story, I wonder if maybe like a message that they're trying to convey is that as a species, as humanity as a whole, we do need to help each other more and not be divided by anything, race, color, creed, nationality, whatever. Yeah. Just let's all help each other for the sake of our future.
Yeah. No, it's a beautiful film. One of the great things about it is it makes you ask a lot of questions, but it answers almost every single one. Anyway, this video has gotten to be too long now. I hope that you guys enjoyed it as much as we did. It's my favorite film of this year.
Yeah.
And
very good.
I'm gonna go take some more drugs and go to sleep. Hopefully this wasn't too boring, given my very low-key, subdued voice.
Which I feel is kind of fitting for the film as well. It's a very kind of slow burn. Yeah. It gives you all the feels. Go watch it with someone who means something to you.
Yeah. I actually called up my mom and I'm like, go watch it with my sister, please, today. Thanks so much for hanging out with us and watching this all the way through. If you did, please make sure to follow Achara Kirk on Twitter, and more important, because you got a shit ton of Instagram followers, follow her on Twitter, please, and follow me on Twitter as well. I put out updates, I put out polls. I'm trying to push the Twitter thing right now because I realize that sometimes people in the YouTube comments will ask me questions and I'm like, well, it's hard to talk about it in YouTube because the comments, it's like, well, I'll answer your comment, but then a lot of people miss that information. But if you follow me on Twitter, everybody gets the updates, at once. Yeah. And so, please make sure to follow me on Twitter. I'm Jaby Achara.
I'm Achara Kirk.
Peace out.